It is very much like listening to any person, isn't it? The more carefully you listen to them, the more you show you love them, the more you care about them. So the listening to God is not just about wanting to hear messages or teaching from God, but it's more about allowing God really to enter into our lives and to change us and to fill us more and more with his love. I would say you're not really listening to the words of God, you're trying to listen for the love of God or to listen for the word of Christ to enter into you and change you slowly into someone who can love something like God does.
There's more demands on people now more than ever, information coming every 5 minutes, responses having to be made immediately, all of that. So I think now more than ever, it's very, very difficult to take time and do that sort of attentive listening. Being attentive, takes discipline, takes work. But I think people find in life that anything that's worthwhile takes time to be built up. Trust between people takes time. Relationships take time to build. If you're creating anything beautiful, that's going to take time and discipline and work. And I think listening and prayer is just like that. It's a bit of an art form.
Sometimes prayer, I think, is a matter of trying to understand what's going on. And in the end, you may not be able to work that one out. And the best you can do is just say, "Thy will be done." Which in the end is what prayer is about, isn't it? Not asking that my will should be done, but God's will always be the right one.
Augustine says, "God, you were with me, but I was outside of myself." We often feel lost in prayer or that God is absent, but I think it's because we often wander away from who we are. So, God is always there. It's just sometimes we're not. But it's, there's a relationship there of trust, of gift, that we don't really have to work at in a certain way. We just have to make ourselves available to.
I think I go back to what a great abbot of Downside said once, which is pray as you can. Don't try and pray as you can't. And we each have our own different ways of doing it. So I don't want people to try and take on forms of prayer that are not natural to them. There's a sense in which you have to relate to God out of the person you are and out of the normal way you relate to any person. But then you have to say, okay, now God, up to you.
We spend a lot of our day reciting the Psalms, and the Psalms are kind of extraordinary and frustrating all at the same time. And they come to us as the word of God, but often they're the word of a human being, aren't they? They're the word of somebody in distress, or someone angry, or someone frustrated, or someone in danger of being overwhelmed by their enemies, and all of this. So in the Psalms, you kind of get the whole of life. And I was thinking about that in prayer. When I'm trying to be silent, my mind's going all over the place, and I'm thinking of someone or something that I've done, or have I hurt that person? But actually, I think that's all okay, and actually that might be God speaking to us about, or you're concerned about that, give that some attention, or you're feeling this, give that some attention. And I think the Psalms are great because it is, yes, this is the word of God, but it's also our words, words of joy, words of celebration, words of hurt, words of frustration, very human words, very real things. And that's what prayer is all about.